Hi. So, I was watching, obviously, Dynamite this week, and another little promo I just want to dissect for a sec about what was said was Darby Allin's promo. And Darby Allin, again, making the claim of he wants to be world champ, he wants to be on top, basically implying that he wants to be world champion. This has been a discussion for AEW fans for a while, it seems like, with Darby in the world title scene. And I just want to add my opinion on it. And I've got to preface this, I'm a fan of Darby. I think Darby's really improved. Obviously, I think he's always been fun to watch, but I think his character, he's just insane. Everyone knows how insane Darby is. But I think for me with Darby, my problem is I think he puts on some of the most entertaining matches you've got. I think Darby is a great symbol of what AEW is, similar to what Moxley is, in the sense of the guy is so basically balls to the wall, so extreme, that he represents what AEW is trying to be. It really drives home that this is not WWE, this is very hardcore. It's great for advertising stuff, essentially. It's great to promote yourself as the non-WWE, which I do believe AEW does and should do more of. It's, just to drive that point home. I think, personally, as much as I like Darby Allin, I think Darby Allin's a very important and very pivotal point to AEW, I don't think he's world champs level. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's not like I think Darby is below that level. I just think, for me, with the AEW Men's World Championship, I think the AEW Men's World Championship should be held by someone who can do a lot of different styles of matches. And not that Darby couldn't, but I think Darby is so designed in the death match and the shock and awe of what, his whole thing is. And you look at the previous champs we've had. Jericho was, just to kind of get the title on the map, it felt like. But Jericho at that point was still good. Hangman obviously got experience in death matches. Kenny can do a death match, even though it's out of the scene. He can definitely do it. But Kenny's one of the best wrestlers ever. Swerve the same. Moxley obviously can do whatever. Max proves every match he has is phenomenal. Brian, obviously. All these, even Samoa Joe for the 2 transitional reigns. Swerve, obviously, like I said previously. All these people who've held the belt, it makes sense why, it's them. It makes sense why they're a good representation of what AEW does. And even though Joe, specifically, I think Joe's a very good talking point about what I'm saying, is Samoa Joe was basically, especially his recent match, which I was still not happy about, is purely transitional. And it's like, that's fine. But we all know Samoa Joe could do that believable. Just Samoa Joe fits as a character on top, especially when he's heel, up in the suit, like a Yakuza boss, ironically. I think Darby is better as the lone guy who's the underdog, in a sense. Even though, he's not always an underdog, because we all know how good Darby is. It's like, I just don't think Darby has that presentation for a world champ. And I don't think that's a bad thing for Darby Allin. I think if you put Darby Allin as world champ, it doesn't work. I think Darby Allin is a guy who wants to kind of be anti-authority in a way. And for him to have the world championship and just kind of be the guy on top doesn't fit Darby. I don't know what it is. It's kind of hard to describe and convey. But I feel like with Darby, he's not above it because no one's above that title. It's so prestigious and that's what I like about it. It's just, I think Darby just doesn't fit that mold. I think you look at all the people, look at all the people who were lined up for the world title, right? You got obviously, MJF's champ now. You've got all the people you got Kenny in there now. Hangman, Swerve are obviously in there. Joe's probably going to come back. Ospreay, when he comes back, definitely. Kyle Fletcher's got to be there. And this is not including the elevation of people. Bandito's got a title shot. Might not be in the main event, but he's definitely he's got a title shot. Are you going to elevate someone like Takeshita? Is Okada going to get in there eventually? Other people. There's Jay White still to come back. That's nearly 10 people to come into the world title picture. And, again, it's nothing against Darby Allin. There's nothing problem with that at all. It's just, I just feel like it doesn't fit the guy. I don't think any title fits Darby Allin. I think Darby Allin's I don't want to say, again, he's not above the title. I don't know how to describe it. The character doesn't need the title at all. It's kind of like Tony Storm in a way, where Tony Storm doesn't need a belt. Her attraction is enough. That's why when she lost the belt to start, it done so much. It really freed up the division. Because Tony's whole thing draws itself. Darby kind of has that allure already. And it's not that it'll hold up 2 divisions. That's kind of my point. But it's also something that should be acknowledged. It's just more with Darby. It feels like Darby getting every feud he has is a blood feud, essentially. Look how insane they go, especially with Moxley, with Pac. stuff like this. I feel like if there was a hardcore championship, something similar to like an ECW thing, what WWE had years ago, that could work, but I don't think the world title is Darby's scene. I just don't. I feel like the world title scene is about these best in the world, best of all time contenders. You know, your Kennys, your Bryans, your Ospreys, your Hangmans, your Swerves, your MJFs, your Samoa Joes, Jay Whites, people like this. And obviously Kyle Fletcher, and people to come in. And again, it's not that Darby isn't that caliber. We've all seen Darby put on these great matches. You know, these matches with Ospreay specifically, which is a phenomenal match. And I just don't think that fits Darby Allin. I feel like if you had Darby Allin champ, it's like, it's not that I wouldn't believe it, because the guy, again, is good enough. I've really got to make that clear. It's just, for me, Darby, like, say if Darby got champ before or after, like, you know, around, Darby got champ before Will Ospreay, that would be insane to me. I think that'd be nuts. I feel like Darby getting champ before Kyle Fletcher would be insane. Darby getting champ before Jay White. These people, and again, it's not that Darby is a bad wrestler, a technical wrestler. He's a great technical wrestler. I don't think he gets the credit for that because how much of a stuntman he is. But he just isn't that mold. He's not designed to be these guys. Darby Allin isn't designed to go and compete in a G1. He's not designed to really compete in all these big end, you know, world contenderships. Darby Allin's just the guy who's looking for a blood feud, trying to settle it. I feel like Darby Allin is that type of, I don't want to say, because like the closest comparison I can think of off the top of my head for Darby Allin in terms of old school wrestling is Mick Foley, because obviously all the spots Mick Foley did. And we love Mick Foley here, obviously. But I don't think I think when Mick Foley won the title, it was more of like a reward. And I don't think that Darby definitely deserves an award for what he's done. I'm not going to deny it. I think Darby Allin does incredible work, and I think he should be compensated. I just don't think this fits the character, the narrative, and I don't think Darby needs it. I feel like they will give him it eventually. I think I think honestly he would have given it if he didn't go up Everest for All In, which I'm glad he never, because that's kind of a great point. It's like, Imagine All In and it's Moxley versus Darby and Darby wins the belt. It's not the same type of feeling. Hangman has that feeling because Hangman is the guy. Hangman is, you know, the redemption of Hangman, everything about it. Darby wouldn't change as a character. Darby doesn't need to change. Like, the only thing Darby needs to do really is, well, obviously take care of himself, goddamn, but also drive himself for a title. It just feels like Darby's more about, he doesn't care about these accolades. I feel like that fits the character and honestly the person that Darby Allin is. You look how he is against Moxley. He didn't care about anything about that title. He just wanted Moxley rid because what Moxley doing was wrong. And I like that direction more for Darby. Darby struggled getting out of the tag with Sting. So now that he's on this like stuff, and don't get me wrong, the stuff isn't the most perfect stuff. But, you know, even when Sting's coming in and out, it just feels like it's not the right move for Darby. The TNT belt, you know, something like that, I wouldn't be against. I feel like that's the type of stuff. The national belt would be perfect for Darby, frankly. Not the, like, you know, the highest, the heights, but it'd elevate that belt, because obviously Darby Allin's a big star. You know, Darby Allin's an attraction wherever you like. You could ship Darby out to the indies or the companies. You know, imagine if you sent Darby Allin's a perfect representation of what AEW is. And that's what the national belt is for me. I feel like that's his level. And again, that's not a knock. I feel like whatever belt Darby would touch, he would elevate it, including the world title. He'd get more eyeballs on it. But I just don't think Darby Allin is the world title picture type of guy. Again, not through a lack of quality. The quality is there. It's just through it's not pointless. It's needless. And if you want to be logical about it, I don't think they should really give the belt to Darby Allin. Because, again, they're never going to... If you change Darby Allin's style and make him a bit... Like, as much as we all want Darby Allin to be safe and stuff, and he is safe, but, you know, we all want Darby Allin to not be going through planes of glass every week. We all know that's what Darby Allin would do, and if he didn't do that, that's not Darby Allin. So what's the point? So he's going to be doing that. Why would you champ someone up that much? Well, to put that much, you know, faith into a guy to champ him up, essentially when it's almost a certainty the guy's going to be not medically cleared for all of it, which is fine for most champs. But for when Darby, it feels like you've got to kind of reward it. If you're going to do it, you just got to do it big. You can't make Darby a transitional champ. It doesn't feel right. And it's too hard to navigate for me. Again, this is why it's not my job. But I just don't think Darby needs it. I don't think it's Darby's thing. Personally, I don't. I think the national belt works for the guy. He can advertise the company very well. I think it's not the biggest to gold, so it works. And he'd elevate it because he's a big deal. So it's kind of, I like Darby Allin being in his own little corner and just doing his own little thing. I kind of like that. It makes him seem a bit directionless. But Darby Allin isn't really about that. Darby Allin's just about putting on these wild, basic matches that are just insane. So that's why the Gabe Kidd match was nuts, even though it got all bloody. It's like, the fact that it was just non-stick was insane for a Darby match. Another reason why I don't think Darby should be champ, because I don't think Darby can cut the greatest of promos. I think Darby is an okay promo, but I think Darby's a very unpredictable guy, and Darby's a very crazy guy, frankly. So for him to kind of just have these promos that aren't like the most reliable crowd, basically to pump up the crowd, that, Moxley will do that. Moxley will get a crowd pump, but obviously Max is great on the mic. Every other champ being, phenomenal on the mic, and every future champ, Ospreay, Fletcher, Jay White, all these people, they're like guaranteed. Darby's just doesn't care. Darby's very, look at the promo against Gabe Kidd, it was awful. It was absolutely awful. I just think there's a lot still to be done with Darby, and again, there's nothing wrong with me not thinking Darby is world champ level. He's not world champ level, sorry, I may specify. I don't think he needs the world champ. I don't think it's right of him. I just think it's a common thought process. And I think it will happen eventually, I do. So a lot can change, but I just don't think that is Darby's avenue. I don't think that's really needed for Darby. I don't think the world title reign needs Darby, and I don't think Darby needs the world title reign. That's what's very important. I feel like Darby Allin's stock will rise with the AEW World Championship, obviously, but it's not needed. It's not a necessity. Like, look at Max, for instance. When Max won the belt first, it felt necessity. It felt like it needed to happen because that added to the legitimacy of what MJF was as a character. Same with Hangman. Definitely with Swerve. And it feels like that now with Ospreay. It feels like if we don't have Ospreay win that belt, what are we doing? And with Darby, I feel like Darby's just kind of made. Darby's, like, there's nothing really needed you need to do with Darby, you know what I mean? Like, everything Darby has now feels very solidified, very right, and especially after coming out of the Sting stuff, which was very beneficial for Darby, it feels like this is it. They found it now, and I like that. I just feel like we just need to kind of let it do it. Just let Darby have his own thing and breathe. Not everyone needs to be in the world title picture. Not because they're not good enough. It's just some characters it doesn't work for, and some people just don't need it. And don't get me wrong, give Darby a belt by all means. The guy needs rewarding for all the hard work and just pain he puts himself through. But don't feel like we have to belt Darby up. We have to belt Darby up. We don't. There's nothing wrong with that. And again, think about what the company is. The company represents, again, it's frankly sound like a shill. We're the best wrestler. Darby Allin isn't the best wrestler. Not that he's a bad wrestler, but he's not. Darby Allin, wherever he's in that company, there's always going to be a wrestler better than him. And yeah, as much as you can say that about most people, you look at the previous AEW championships, at some points for a lot of them, they've been the best wrestler in the world. One of them is the best wrestler of all time, for me, in my opinion, and a lot of them are probably people's best wrestlers of all time. Darby Allin's never going to be that. Darby Allin's going to be probably one of the most entertaining guys you ever watch on TV, but he's never going to be one of the best out-and-out wrestlers ever. And again, not a fault, but to me, that just is an AEW champ. And it's a shame to say, and again, I do think they will. I think Darby Allin will get an AEW men's world title in his lifetime. I think that'd be silly if they didn't, to be honest. Not from my point of view, but just from knowing what Tony Khan's like and how rewarding he is, he'll reward one of his homegrown stars in Darby Allin. So it makes sense, but I don't know. I just feel like the present, a lot can change. A lot can change. And again, I wouldn't be against Darby winning. It's just, the guy doesn't need it. To me, doesn't need it. And frankly, it doesn't fit the character. But this is only my opinion. I know a lot of people love Darby. I like Darby a lot. I've got to press for. I really like Darby Allin. I think he's very entertaining. But does that make sense? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I just don't think he fits the world picture, and that's fine. Truly fine. So yeah, that's just me rambling about Darby and what I think he'll be in the world title picture. What's your opinion on Darby Allin? Do you think he will ever be world champ? And what's your opinion on if he does? Do you think he is the right call? Do you think he fits the world scene? Whatever. Because as much as I like Darby, it just doesn't fit. It just doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? But again, that could just be me. But yeah, curious to know because Darby Allin's a great source of topic. Everyone knows that. It's very controversial.